Ravenclaw, Hermione. Hermione Granger walks into Hogwarts ready to memorize every book in the library, and the Sorting Hat sends her exactly where that energy belongs, Ravenclaw, which means the troll incident in first year goes differently. Ron still says something awful about her, but Hermione cries in the Ravenclaw bathroom, not the one with the troll, and Harry and Ron handle the monster without her. They become best friends. Without Harry and Ron pulling her into yearly near-death adventures, Hermione does what Hermione does best. She studies. Top of every class, favorite of every professor, and by third year, she's spending most of her evenings in the library arguing medical theory with the one Hufflepuff who can actually keep up, Cedric Diggory. He's kind, brilliant, and actually listens to her opinions like they matter. By fourth year, Hermione is so in love, it's almost embarrassing. Then the maze takes him. Cedric touches the cup, lands in a graveyard, and comes back as a body. Harry staggers out, screaming that Voldemort killed him, and the Ministry spends the entire summer calling Harry a liar, while Hermione sits in her parents' house reading every book on dark magic she swore she'd never open. Grief does something to the smartest witch of her generation. It gives her a project. She finds Harry at the start of fifth year and recruits him like a loaded weapon with a prophecy attached. From that point on, Hermione runs the war. She maps every Horcrux a full year before Dumbledore gets around to showing Harry the memories, and breaks into the Ministry for the locket while Harry is still learning what a pensive does. By the time the war goes hot, she's brewing polyjuice by the cauldron and interrogating captured Death Eaters with legilimency she taught herself from a banned book. Harry gets the credit and the chocolate frog card, but every move he made came out of Hermione's notebook. Turns out the ship that saved the wizarding world was Cedric and Hermione. The fandom just never saw it coming. Gryffindor, Snape. Severus Snape lands in Gryffindor and gets the one thing canon Snape dreamed about his entire life, Lily Evans. Without Slytherin pulling him sideways, they stay best friends through school, start dating in sixth year, and honestly, it looks like the Sorting Hat just handed this kid a happy ending. Except Snape is still, well, Snape. The Half-Blood Prince textbook still happens. The dark spells get scratched into the margins, the restricted section calls to him at night. Gryffindor changed their wrapping, not the contents. Lily finds his notes, Sectum Sempra, and a collection of experimental curses dark enough to make Mulciber wince, and realizes the boy she loves has been hiding a whole second personality under the red and gold scarf. She leaves him and goes to James Potter within the month, marries him a year later. And here's why Gryffindor makes this worse. Canon Snape could spend his whole life telling himself, if only I'd been in her house, if only I hadn't said that word, everything would have been different. This Snape was in her house. He had every chance. She left anyway, because the problem was never the tie, it was him. He goes to Voldemort with the kind of rage that only a Gryffindor who lost everything can carry, becomes a spy inside the Order, feeds intel for years, and when Voldemort heads to Godric's Hollow, Snape asks to come along, kills James personally, his wand, his curse, eye to eye, then asks Voldemort to spare Lily. Voldemort agrees the way Voldemort always agrees, walks upstairs and kills her anyway. Harry survives, Voldemort vanishes, and years later when Harry finds out who actually cast the curse that killed his father, he hunts Snape down and finishes it. Which means the only spy Dumbledore had and the only person who could have told Harry he was a Horcrux dies on a teenage boy's revenge before any of that information reaches the right people. Voldemort comes back, and this time nobody knows how to stop him. Hufflepuff, Ron. Ron Weasley gets sorted into Hufflepuff, and overnight he goes from another Weasley to the most promising kid in his year. And it turns out that's exactly what he needed. Without five brothers casting a shadow, Ron becomes the star. He's funny, loyal, and the best chess player in his year. Hufflepuff loves him for exactly who he is. The problem is, he never shares a train compartment with Harry Potter. Hermione drifts toward Ron instead. He's warm and secure. He doesn't carry Harry's storm cloud of doom everywhere he goes. The famous golden trio never forms. It's Ron and Hermione, the popular couple, and Harry, the strange, isolated kid. They never become friends. Harry spends his school years on his own, learning one lesson over and over. Trust nobody. Handle everything himself. Walk into the fire alone. And when the war comes for him, Harry falls in the Forbidden Forest with no friends left to pull him back. And the forest keeps him. Voldemort wins. The Chosen One is dead. The Ministry is his. And the Wizarding World goes dark. And that's when Ron Weasley's real story starts. While the brave Gryffindors charged Voldemort head-on and died doing it, Ron survived. Because Hufflepuffs play the long game. His brother survived for a simpler reason. Without Harry in Ron's orbit, Fred and George never enlisted in a war that wasn't theirs to fight. And Fred is very much alive, still co-running WWW, and quietly turns the joke shop into the logistics arm of a resistance nobody knows exists yet. Ron pulls the scattered survivors together around them and builds an underground network nobody important bothers to watch, and starts doing the one thing he's better at than anyone alive, reading the whole board, where every piece is where it's going, which sacrifice opens the killing move 10 turns later. It takes him years. He loses people, makes brutal trades, and never once gets to be the hero in a prophecy. But piece by piece, Ron Weasley boxes in an immortal Dark Lord the same way he cornered McGonagall's giant chess set at 11 years old. Patient, ruthless, and always 3 moves ahead. The most dangerous wizard of the age turned out to be the chess kid from Hufflepuff, Slytherin Pettigrew. Peter Pettigrew gets sorted into Slytherin, and his entire personality stops working overnight. In Gryffindor, his nervous energy looked like a kid trying to be brave, endearing, sympathetic, the runt of the marauder litter. At the Slytherin table, the same kid just looks like prey. Mulciber and Avery clock him as soft within a week. Snape's crowd uses him for errands and target practice, and Peter learns very quickly that survival means picking a bigger predator and getting useful to it fast. James, Sirius, and Remus never let him near the Marauders. The three of them build the map, become Animagi, run wild around Hogwarts as their tight little trio, and Peter Pettigrew is just some twitchy Slytherin kid they pass in the corridor, which means when the war comes and the Potters need a secret keeper, they pick the obvious choice. Sirius, James's best friend, the man who would die before betraying him. No clever double bluff plan. And just like that, the entire war flips. Sirius keeps the secret. Voldemort spends years hunting the Potters and never finds Godric's Hollow. The prophecy can't fulfill itself if he can't locate the child it's about. Lily and James survive the first war alive and whole, raising Harry in a house that doesn't get blown up on Halloween. Voldemort, frustrated and bleeding influence, eventually gets cornered by the Order at full strength, including a James Potter who's still alive to fight him and goes down for real. The Horcruxes still exist, but a fully staffed Order with years to hunt them tears through the list before he can rebuild. Harry grows up with parents. The boy who lived isn't anyone in particular. He's just a Potter's kid, vaguely famous because Voldemort once wanted him dead, now mostly known for being terrible at charms and dating someone in Ravenclaw. And somewhere in a quiet corner of Azkaban sits Peter Pettigrew, picked up in a Death Eater raid in 1979, never important enough to recruit or remember. The man whose cowardice destroyed the wizarding world in another timeline never got the chance, because the Sorting Hat put him at the wrong table.